All right, guys, it is finally here, the brand new 2024 Daiwa Steez SV TW. This is a reel that's been in desperate need of an upgrade. Wasn't supposed to actually arrive until the Bassmasters Classic. It came early. I'm excited. We're gonna unbox it and talk through my experience so far with this reel and help you decide, now that this is here, what Steez is the Steez that you need? Is it the new SV TW? Is it the Steez A? Is it the Steez CT? They've all gone through model upgrades over the last year. We're gonna break them all down so that you can make the best Steez bougie decision. Let's go. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick.
Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful post-spawn fish.
Look at that.
Look at that gut on that. That's a nice fish.
Welcome back. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, a Tackle Otaku on Instagram, being joined by my buddy Jeffrey the King. Jeff, Steez is just part of a bougie fisherman's lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
It's in there.
It's just, you know, it's in our DNA.
Yes.
So when we see things like, hey, this amazing reel that's as good as it's ever going to get is getting an update and going to be even better.
It's like, how?
All of a sudden, all those amazing reels that we had and we've used and loved, they're just junk. I just want the new one now,
Yeah.
right? So here we are. So this is a reel that we knew was going to be coming down the pipe, and finally it's here. Now, I should say that Steez is, well, I'm gonna take it maybe a step back further. Wouldn't you say that Daiwa loves to kind of confuse product categories with their reels? Sometimes they do so many different models of the same model, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you know, within Steez, there's not just the Steez. There's 3 different Steezes.
Right.
Actually 4 if you include the
Yeah.
Steez Air, that's the BFS reel, right? Tatula, there's 19,562 Tatulas,
And
right?
you need more.
So sometimes navigating which one is the right one can be difficult. And, you know, if you guys are buying online, makes it even harder because you don't get a chance to come in and put your hands on it and see how it fits and, you know, put it on a rod and use it. So, you know, really you're kind of stuck to specs, right? And when you see some of these videos coming out talking about, you know, the new reel or whatever, you're going to get fed a lot of specs. And I'm going to give you some specs today too, just so that we have them out there. But really what I want to talk about is common sense ideas of, if that's what exists up here, whatever this is in here, I'm going to call it common sense. Okay, you call it whatever you want, Jeff, but keep it to yourself. We're just going to break down my experience and what I think you guys should think of when you're navigating the Steez lineup to purchase a reel. Okay, and just so that you're clear, if you're new to Steez, there are 3 key Steez in the lineup. Okay, so this is the new one. This is the 2024 Steez SV TW. There's also a Steez A T-Wing, okay? And there is a Steez CT SV T-Wing, okay? So there are 3 different Steezes now within the product category. I'm gonna help you navigate which one to get, which one to use for certain things, okay? We're gonna start right here with the new one, okay? Let's do just a grand boxing or unboxing. Yeah, I know what I'm saying, right? Okay. So here we go. There are going to be 2 gear ratios in this. There's going to be a 100H and a 100XH. The H is going to be the high speed, okay, and the XH the extra high speed. The H is a 7.8 to 1, pretty high speed. The XH can be an 8.5 to 1, so super high speed, okay? They're going to come in right hand and left hand. Let's unbox.
Here we go.
And I should say, this is the largest box for such a small light reel. they decided on the biggest freaking box just to compare it. Here's the Steez A II, which is a bigger reel. I don't know why they decided on such a huge box, but for whatever reason, it's a big box, okay? But don't let that scare you.
I thought that was a Steez like 200.
Right, it's a massive, it's like a swim bait size box, okay? So inside you get some tools and some little extra things, and of course, you know, the paperwork that none of us are ever going to read, okay? But it's there. All right, and then the good stuff. It's almost like you're unboxing an iPhone or something.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So here we go. We get this beautiful, I should
beautiful
say,
box.
all for the low price of $749.99.
That's it.
But you do get this like nice paper.
At least.
That's important.
Oh, and the reel cover.
And you get this reel cover that
That's most of the price.
I mean, I hope some of you guys use these things. Have you ever used one of these?
I have.
You're kind of anal about your gear,
I
though.
have one reel though, and that's the Z 2020.
Okay, so you
All the
almost
other
need
ones?
to protect
yeah,
that once it's
all the other
delicate.
ones? Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. Okay, here you go. Here is the beautiful. Here, let me polish it. My fancy polishing. There you go. The brand new 2024 Steez SV T-Wing in all its glory. Now, I posted this on Instagram last week, and it received mixed reviews on the styling, I would say. So a lot of people find it like me, where they find it super attractive, and then a lot of people are like, oh man, it's so boring. Now, yeah, it doesn't have a lot of flash. It is basically, it reminds me of like a truck paint. It's kind of like a matte graphite gray with like a gloss coat. So it's just a solid painted, to me it's beautiful. What really sets this reel apart is when you put it on a rod. Pretty much every rod you put it on, it matches. So of course we put it on some destroyers, it looked like it was built for the rod. We put it on Daiwa Steez, it looks like it was built for the rod. We put it on Poison Ultima, let me tell you how that felt. That blew my mind. It's like, oh my God, it was like it was built for this thing. And that's like the sacrilegious
I know.
Shimano to Daiwa thing. So no matter what you put it on, it looks amazing. It's just the right color scheme for everything. Now, enough about that, okay? What is new with this model over the last model is it's a fully redesigned structure. So it's gonna have a different fit, it's gonna have a different look than the old one. Maybe I should bring the old one. That would probably make more sense. Stand by, please. Okay, Jeff, so this will maybe make a little more sense. So this is the previous gen SV T-Wing, this is the new gen SV T-Wing. So you can see cosmetically the difference is here between the two. I'm just gonna kind of hold them up, just so that you guys appreciate the difference. Now, the biggest thing that I noticed in using these is the way this reel sits and grips. It's slightly higher and slightly more compact than this one. And you'll notice this one kind of has this like elongated top piece to it. So it almost at times feels like too long, especially kind of like where my thumb used to sit on this. I never really liked this reel because of how I had to hold it. The T-Wing on my thumb would kind of hit a lot, and it met a lot of resistance. Some people just absolutely loved it. Some people weren't huge fans. So I think this one is going to surprise a lot of people that maybe didn't love the previous gen. Are going to love the way this feels in your hand. It's got a new improved T-Wing system. So you can see it's smaller. It's, you know, gone is that gold. It's more of a black kind of graphite piece. It's a smaller, more refined T-Wing, so it lays the line on there a lot better. And then the overall feel of the reel in your hand when it's on the rod is amazing, right? I think you guys are going to be really impressed with how it feels. Now, as far as specs go, it specs out almost the same as the previous gen as far as weight and size, right? So I mean, if I'm going to go down and spec this thing out, as far as weight, both were 160 grams. Okay, so they're both about 5.6 ounces. Drag is slightly improved. No, it's about the same. It's about 11 pounds on both. So the drag's going to be similar. The biggest difference is the new one is going to have 12 ball bearings, but 3 are going to be CRBB instead of only 1 previously. But the whole point of this redesign was to get that hyperdrive system in. This was the last Steez that didn't have it. Now it has that new hyperdrive system. So if you guys remember back to, I believe Zillion was the first one to really launch that hyperdrive. It met a lot of, you know, there were some other YouTube channels that tried to break it down and discredit it, but once you used it and realized what it did, you became instant fans. It's basically everything is reinforced with bearings and refined to a new casting system that allows you to throw lighter weight baits into the wind with more distance, more accuracy, more control. It just improves the overall performance of the reel. And so the new Steez SV TW gets that hyperdrive system, which completely increases its usability, right? Now, let's talk really quick about, you know, this one versus the Steez A versus the Steez CT, because that's what gets complicated, right? So this is the regular Steez SV T-wing, and I should say, just to make sure all this makes sense, the T-wing is this piece. Okay, so this is the piece that when you go to cast, the T-wing opens, it allows the line to come off. Instead of forcing it all through a roller or a little oval, it has this more elongated horizontal oval, and then when you wind back, it switches it down to more of a thinner piece to where it just allows greater casting. The SV spool is this shallower spool that's kind of free floating on bearings that allows for great user control. Okay, so it's great at controlling backlash. If you do backlash, it's relatively shallow. It's pretty easy to pick out, and it's a great way to cast a huge variety of baits, but specifically lighter weight baits or baits that struggle into the wind. What I will say is it doesn't necessarily spec this way. So spec wise, this is saying that it takes 90 yards of 16 pound. The old version said it took 40 to 80 meters. It's a pretty big disparity. I guess if you're using some crappy fluoro, like, you know, some Berkeley or something, it's only gonna take 40, but a good fluoro, it'll take 80. I don't know what that means, massive. 40 to 80, right? But what I will say is when I fill my reels, I fill them to the top of the spool. I felt like this one took a lot more line than the previous version. So it's a new SV spool, and the way it's positioned, I feel like it took a lot more. It might have just been in my head, but I even commented while I'm filling, I'm like, geez, it's taking a lot of line. And I put 14 and 16 on mine, okay? So I really enjoyed it. Now, let's do a side-by-side comparison. I'm gonna talk about some techniques with you guys, okay? So, here's the SV T-wing. Here is a Steez A. Let's open this up really quick. And we'll talk about
this. This is a very expensive video.
What's that?
This is a very expensive video. And I think about every reel you just held up.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe at the end here, I'm just gonna lay down the ground. Yeah, you can just lay these on me. And I can just bathe in my bouginess, right? Okay, here's the Steez A versus the Steez SV T-wing. Okay, so the biggest difference is going to be in weight. Of course, I just positioned the box to where I can't read it. But this is 190 grams, the Steez A, so 6.7 ounces versus 160 grams. So a little over an ounce difference. So it's substantially heavier. The Steez A is also built much more robust. It's got an aluminum frame. It's got this solid metal feel to it. It's got larger grips, larger handle, a little bit bigger gearing in it. It also has mag seal. Okay, so mag seal is going to be that magnetic oil that kind of prevents water from kind of creeping in, which can be important if you guys are ever fishing any kind of brackish type stuff. That's important to know. Whereas the Steez SV T-wing, this is going to be a magnesium reel, so it weighs next to nothing. Right now, one of the challenges to magnesium at times can be that it weighs so little and it's such a kind of a hard material that a lot of times it vibrates hard. And that was one of the comments that we saw a lot from the previous version, is that a lot of times when the reel gets kind of grindy, the grind kind of, you know, transmits into your hand. Obviously I haven't had these very long, but they're just butter smooth. There's not a single bit of grind at all. So there's a size, look, and kind of overall comparison between the Steez A and the Steez SV T-Wing. And then it goes down one more size into the Steez CT. Okay, so this is going to be yet an even smaller version, slightly smaller, slightly more compact, kind of the same size handle. It's similar now. We're not that far apart, but the Steez CT, even a shallower spool designed for lighter line, like 8, 10, 12 pound line, where the SV T-Wing is going to be more your traditional line, right? 10 to 20 pound type stuff. Okay, so there's your 3 different Steez. Now, of course, within that, there's, you know, you've got the Hyper Long Cast, which is kind of an obscure one. You have the Steez Limited, which is kind of an obscure one. So there's always like some oddball, more like niche type things. But as far as the main lineup, those are going to be the 3 reels. Now, why do you choose a Steez SV T-Wing over a Steez A? So let's talk about that really quick. I'm going to show you some combos and some setups that I've been using that I really like these on. So the Steez SV T-Wing, this is a reel that has always been designed as a reel for throwing lighter to normal size baits with accuracy and with ease. Okay, it's equally at home throwing light line versus, let's call it mid-size line. So if you're throwing like 10 to 16 pound, that's probably perfect in the wheelhouse for the SV T-Wing. If you're throwing baits that are anywhere from, let's say, a 1/4 ounce to a 1/2 ounce, that's going to be perfectly in the wheelhouse of an SV T-Wing. So for your normal stuff, square bill, jerk bait, smaller spinner bait, finesse plastic, like maybe you're throwing a light little Texas rig, maybe you're throwing a Senko, maybe you're throwing you know, a small little swim bait on a ball head. This kind of stuff, that's going to be where the SV T-Wing is really going to shine. You could take a little 1/4 ounce ball head and a small little 3-inch swim bait, and you can fire this thing across the pond, right? No problem. What I did notice on this is that it wants to be put on a rod that's relatively light. So because this reel doesn't weigh anything, if you go put this on, you know, a super heavy rod, like a big glass rod or something like that, it's not going to have great curb appeal because the rod's going to overwhelm it. But if you pair this up with something that's light, this is a new P5 that I'm prototyping. I also put this on my 110 Special. Feels great on a 110 Special. Feels great on 110 stick. Then all of a sudden you have like a perfect combination. It would be great on like a medium or a medium heavy, like a 7-foot jig and worm rod. Be perfect on that, like an NRX, a Steez, something higher end that's light. That's really what you're going to want to put this on, okay? Now, on the Steez A, think of the Steez A as a reel that's designed for holding more line and for casting heavier baits. Okay, so can you throw a little 1/4 ounce bait on the Steez A? Yeah, you can do it if you are really dialed, but it's not easy. If you go and take a Steez A and you try to throw even like a Edo Vision 110, and you're throwing in the wind, it's gonna drive you nuts. But if you're throwing like a big 1 ounce jig or a, you know, 2.5 square bill or a glide bait or, you know, a big Texas rig or something, the Steez A is money, or chatterbait. So think of the Steez A as a reel that's going to be your heavier line. I would say 15 to 22 pound is probably where you're going to live. So if you guys throw a lot of 16, 18, 20 pound, Steez A is great. It does not have an SV spool, has a larger, deeper spool, so it's not going to give you the same cast control, but it's going to give you more line depth. Okay, what the Steez A is amazing at is it can handle the weight. So for instance, I've been using the Steez A as my light duty swim bait reel for the last year. Love it. So you could put on, like, this is the, you know, DRT varial handle. You could put it on with the big grips, put it on something like a Mark 56 like I have here, and you have an amazing combo, because as swim bait rods get lighter and lighter and lighter, you can't just go and schlop like a Tatula 300 on this rod. It feels ridiculous, right? So you kind of need that more compact reel The Steez A can handle it. I could throw 2, 3, 4 ounce baits on this reel all day long. It manages it great, it has no problem. As long as I don't need extra line capacity for, you know, heaving something giant with like 25 pound, then it can manage these lighter weight swim bait rods incredibly well. So your shad glide rods, your rods that are kind of in between. I consider a Mark 56 as a swim bait rod, but it also, I mean, you throw bull flats on it, Griff throws crankbaits on it. Like, a lot of guys use it for like normal stuff, right? So it has the capability of being that kind of, you know, mid-duty reel, almost like an HD reel. It has the capability of being an amazing, just like big jig, big worm, you know, big spinner bait, you know, that kind of stuff. This is on my FMJ. It's an amazing bottom contact reel. That's how I would think of that one. And then the Steez CT is really going to be a reel that you want to focus on lighter line. It has a little bit more sophisticated drag, similar to like a spinning reel drag, I would say. So you can fight fish off the drag a little bit better. So if you're throwing like 6 pound or 8 pound fluoro on a casting rod, the Steez CT is amazing. So you don't have to, you know, keep engaging your thumb bar all the time, which I hate doing. So you can set your drag and kind of leave it like you would on a spinning reel. But it's also a little bit smaller footprint, still a little bit lighter for those rods that weigh literally nothing. So something like a 110 stick, I still think the Steez CT fits it better than the SVT wing because it's just a little bit smaller. It weighs nothing, just like the rod. It fits great. A little finessey, you know, bottom applications. The Steez CT is amazing. So think of this as finesse, light line, small, lightweight rods. Think of the Steez A as big line, heavier baits, bigger rods, and then think of the new SVT wing as everything else in between. This is going to fill those gaps and really be an amazing reel for you guys to use. One final thing that we didn't cover, in the previous version, you had your kind of spool control or your mag brake setting over here. And your mag brake setting is going to be different on this new hyperdrive casting system than it was on the previous version of Steez. I was showing the wrong Steez. There you go, of that one, okay? Steez A, Steez SVT wing. They go, see, even I'm confused, right? So this version, if you were used to setting this at say like a 2 to 4, right? You're gonna probably need to bump this one to like a 6 to 8. Okay, so there's a setting from 0 to 20. It's now on the bottom of the reel, okay? 20 actually does something and 0 actually does something. So all the numbers kind of do something. So you can keep your same stroke, just know that your number is going to change a little bit because the casting system is different now with that new hyperdrive system. So basically what happens now is your spool is going to extend at the beginning of your cast and start retracting towards the end. So it controls line difference, so you're going to need to set this different. So just give yourself a little bit of time to just get used to the new settings. Once you get it dialed, you'll be off and running. All right, guys, that is it. There's a first impressions look of this reel. I've been super impressed so far. Yes, is it crazy expensive? Yeah, but it's a Steez. I mean, this is where it's going. Where is it gonna go from here? Who knows, right? We'll worry about that when it gets there. But if you are someone who just likes the best of the best and you enjoy that, just, I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just an elevated experience on the water. This is one that you should definitely add to your arsenal, or at least put on the radar and consider it. So if you guys have any questions on this guy, drop it down below. I will get answers to anything that we didn't cover. As we get more time with it and we get more experience with it, we'll continue to speak about it here on the channel, keep you guys posted. But if you have any experience with it so far, drop it down below as well, and let's collectively share everything. So if you pick one up, enjoy it. I know you're gonna love it. There you go, the brand new reel. We will see you guys soon. Peace.